Hey guys, how you doing? Just out for my usual walk. We're in the middle of this heat wave. Boy, is it ever hot. Today's actually slightly cooler than it was yesterday, but boy, still unbelievably hot. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because we are no longer in the warning phase of climate change. We are now in the consequences phase of climate change. Climate change is an issue that really spiked up in my consciousness because of Al Gore's film, An Inconvenient Truth, where he told us all about the environmental disaster that we were creating. He told us all about the environmental degradation that we were perpetuating in the world. And at the time, I genuinely thought to myself, because I was a high school student, right? I was a high school student. I genuinely thought to myself, and I said to other people around me, like, well, this is a serious issue. We should get on it, right? We should do something about this. I feel like we could tackle this. We could do something to prevent all this from happening. And looking back on it, I recall my teachers being a bit skeptical of this, a bit looking at me being like, yeah, you're just a kid. You don't really understand how entrenched the gas and oil industry is in our government. You don't really get how deeply entrenched into our psyche the desire to extract fossil fuels and burn them into the world actually is. And this is the kind of odd psychosis of what it is like to be a Westerner, that we have this insane, overt desire built in, it seems, to our consciousness, where we have to have superpowers. We have to have these. We have to be able to get into a horseless chassis and drive wherever we would like, so that we can get places in times that are so small, especially relatively speaking. What used to take us an entire day to achieve, we can now do in an hour. These kinds of things. We can attain flight not only through our own skies, but into space. These are previously untold superpowers that we have been given, we've bestowed upon ourselves. And I can't help but feel that the entire process has a ring of necromancy about it. We are harvesting bones of our ancestors from the ground, and then pouring those bones into infernal machines which do our bidding and grant us supernatural abilities. And it feels as though while we're doing it, we're completely ignoring the consequences of these actions, and we're pretending as though there will be no consequences, or that somehow we will adapt. If you're one of these people who bounce out of these videos around now, please be sure to like, share, subscribe. I have a live stream on this on YouTube, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please come on in. I love talking to people. I love having my views challenged. It's a great community place, a good jumping off point to spread information. So please consider popping into the live stream, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday. If I was to put what we were doing in sort of theological terms in regards to the climate change issue, we are defying the will of God, right? That in very strict terms, we live in a universe, right? Let's talk about it more secularly. We live in a universe that has obvious and overt rules, right? There are obvious rules. If you don't eat, you die, right? There's a very clear, clean demand that has been imprinted on every single human. We, of course, have done everything we can to ensure that a small group of capitalists withhold food and shelter from us in order to plunge us into a perpetual state of wage slavery, in complete and total defiance of the demand of the universe that has been imprinted upon us. And similarly, we are acting in regards to our environment. We are pretending as though there are no rules, right? We can just grow infinitely. We can just continue doing anything we like. There's no such thing as balance with nature. There's no such thing as balance with the universe around us. And now we're starting to get record-breaking heat waves across the West Coast. We're starting to see island nations having to evacuate because of the rising sea levels. If we were to stop this game right now, we already would lose major infrastructure throughout the coasts. And what's going to happen to us, very simply, is that there's going to be a massive hurricane system that comes through along the East Coast the way it does, right? The way it always does. But because we're having record-breaking heat waves to suck up a record-breaking amount of moisture, that means that the hurricanes are also going to be record-breaking. We're going to be breaking an awful lot of records coming up here. And one would hope that when the city of Miami is wiped off the map, because the rising sea levels make it uninhabitable, that we will turn around and think, maybe we should start doing something about this. And what are we doing about this, right? What has the Trudeau Liberals actually done in order to confront this climate change disaster that we are all, by and large, ignoring? Well, they've certainly banned straws, right? Oh, they've banned straws. Okay, there's a good start. The controversial carbon tax certainly is like 2% of a pollution tax that's being placed on the populace. All those costs are coming down to the populace ultimately. Meanwhile, the companies like ExxonMobil, right? They've known about this climate change issue since at least the 1970s. They know that this issue is a major crisis, and what have they done? What have they done? Well, instead of doing anything in order to resolve the problem, right, they launched a propaganda campaign against the populace in order to allow them to continue doing what they're doing, while knowingly destroying the environment around us. And there's this odd little narrative that goes around with this that says, oh, well, this is fine because we'll adapt, right? That we'll adapt to the coming changes. I've come to see that this perspective is completely disrespectful of our natural world, of our ecosystem, of the earth itself. The idea assumes fundamentally that the most powerful force on the globe, if not in the universe, is mankind. That, we can do what we want. We can poison the oceans, eradicate sea life, increase global carbon, warm up the atmosphere, ensure that there's massive heat waves, massive hurricanes, while simultaneously lying to ourselves about it, pretending like it doesn't exist. And then when the consequences of these actions come to bear, oh no, they won't be so bad. The sun is unrelenting, and it will burn us off the face of this planet. That if we continue to act in this way, the perpetually burning fusion reactor that is the star that heats our planet is going to pierce through our atmosphere heat the carbon that is collecting in it and is going to absolutely burn us off the face of the planet. The idea that we're going to somehow going to adapt from this, and when this occurs, it's going to happen quite quickly, right? That there's a build-up. And this adaptation is going to include things like needing to relocate from major cities. Millions of people are going to be dislocated. Millions of people are going to be fleeing from the consequences of our own actions and our inability to simply stop doing stuff. And this is ultimately what we need to be doing as a people at this point. We need to stop doing stuff. Over the pandemic, right? Over the pandemic, we were forced into a place where we had to stop doing stuff so much, and it improved our environmental situation. The world liked it when we chilled out for a minute, but we seem completely incapable of actually doing this. Such is our mania to get nowhere fast. Because really, what is it that we're spending all of this fossil fuel energy on, really? Like, the number one issue is driving our cars back and forth from work. Like, that's how stupid we've become as a people, and how short-sighted and moronic we actually are, that we're literally taking the bones of our ancestors and funneling it into our infernal machines, and then we're using these infernal machines in order to drive to work, to shuffle some papers around, to do stuff that we're discovering could easily be done from home, could easily be done from, instead of driving an hour and a half on the 400 or the 401 or something to get to work, we could very easily just stay home, right? But there's this manic mania that exists in the capitalist system, where if there isn't a manager looking over your shoulder every moment of every day in order to keep you in line on behalf of the capitalist class, then it doesn't count as work, I suppose, even though all the studies and everything we know about human productivity tells us that the exact opposite is true. So what should we do? What can be done about climate change? Well, first and foremost, we need to stop doing lots of things, right? We need to stop producing junk and garbage. We need to stop producing, like, go take a look at an LOL doll, right? Go take a look at these plastic abominations that are filling up our oceans with trash. We need to actually, like, plant trees, let the ecosystem repair itself. And we've done this before. Like, this is the thing that's so funny to me, is that we've done all this before. There was the aerosol concern back in the 80s, where aerosol chemicals were punching holes in the atmosphere, and the scientific community saw that it happened, and we legislated the problem away, lickety-split. We could do the same thing here, but that would require confronting the sociopaths who have been lying to us for 50 years about whether or not climate change is a threat. Are we going to do that? Do we genuinely think that we're going to do that? So, my advice to every single person at this stage in the game: grab hold of your loved ones, grab hold of the people you know, be good to your friends and neighbors, treat them with respect and dignity, acknowledge of yourself that you are a divine being standing on divine energy, and acknowledge that there is a billionaire class that has spent billions of dollars in order to gaslight you into thinking otherwise, while simultaneously withholding food and shelter from you. These are tough days ahead. It's going to become very, very obvious what's happened to us. It's going to become extremely obvious what's going on. And if we don't actually take steps to care about one another, to care about our ecosystem, it's going to get significantly worse. Good luck. we're gonna need it.